Hey there, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show, where we bring you badasses and their badassery from all over the world. And you all, I am super happy today that we have here in the studio SuZeeFinley, who does acoustic therapeutics. She calls herself the sound sorceress. And in fact, she cured herself of lupus using sound healing. Susie's going to talk with us today about how you can use sound to make your life better in general and in your business. So welcome to the show, Susie. So glad you're here.
Dr. Barnsley, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited. And I love the title you picked.
Yeah.
The fan. I like that because I always joke when I used to joke that the only reason I didn't have a nervous breakdown because there was no time. And I'd been a caregiver for my entire family, and it was like they would joke the consecutive lining up for me, and I saw 3 people through hospice, which was very hard. And I joked my husband at the door. He went too. Different way though. And through all that, I thought I was very strong. And I ended up, because I was internalizing everything, I ended up with 2 autoimmune diseases. And as part of, but before I actually got hit with the autoimmune disease, I went away to a retreat thinking that would help me. Thinking, okay, I'm going to go to this 3-week meditation and I'm just going to meditate and get all the stuff out of my head. And I was so wired from all the things that had happened, I couldn't meditate. And all the people were looking at me because I was like, I was like all over the place. And I was like very like neurotic. And they're like, chill, girl, you got to chill. And I couldn't meditate. And I remembered I talked to the Ayurvedic practitioner and she goes, it's not like you can have a life full of stress and all of a sudden just meditate. And the fun thing when you said the shit hits the fan, you can't wait for the shit to hit the fan and then all of a sudden say there's going to be peace. You need to have that practice in place ahead of time. And I didn't. And I didn't have anything to help me and I couldn't meditate. And that's where the sound came in. The sound was really what got me to completely relax without having any skills. You just listen to the sound and you go into it. And that's what I like to tell everybody. Well, don't wait till you have don't wait till the shit hits the fan. Start some kind of practice now. And that's what I love teaching people.
I love that. Yeah, we absolutely need a practice because it is like putting peace into a bank account, right? And then when things get a little crazy, we have that, we've, stored it up, so to speak. I mean, I've practiced Reiki since 1992 every day. And I can't imagine my life without it. I really can't. It's such a integral part of everything in a way that most things are not, just eating, sleeping, taking a shower and drinking water, are things I do every day. And then Reiki. So your autoimmune conditions that you had, they were lupus and
Sjogren's. And what's very scary about, and the doctors tell you this, what they shouldn't, they tell you, oh, once you have one autoimmune thing, you're going to get others. So
wow.
It puts that into your head. And this are the things that I learned too, like later on about mindset. But when I first got diagnosed with lupus and Sjogren's, I actually joined this community. And back then they would mail you stuff. And every month I would get new information on basically how I was going to die, how my heart could shut down, this could shut down. And then with Sjogren's, they said, oh, it's not a big deal. Your salivary glands, dry up and you have dry mouth. And then you get tooth decay and all your teeth fall out. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like reading all this stuff. And everybody knows this. When you read stuff, especially like you hear about doctors in med school, they start to think they have everything that they're reading about. So I was reading this stuff and my symptoms were getting worse because I would see everything I could possibly be getting. So that wasn't the right route either. So I was like, So I tell people.
What's the second one? You said lupus, and what's the second one?
The other one's called Sjogren's. And it's when really like your salivary glands, your moisture glands, like my eyes had dry eye, dry mouth. They're attacked and everything dries up. So it's very uncomfortable. Your eyes always like feel like you got dirt in them and your mouth was always dry. Like I felt like my tongue was sticking to the roof of my mouth all the time. And I thought it was just going to be an inconvenient thing. But when I read of all the things, you get eye infections, you lose your teeth. I'm like, oh my God. And I was just like,
well, that's crazy. And then, yeah, exactly. And you read and it begins to create fear. And fear is a great antidote to any kind of healing, right? Fear is a great antidote to, fear creates high cortisol levels. And that, induces the stress response in the body. So yeah. So how was it that sound came into your life, Susie? What was that moment when you realized that sound really could be a huge healer for people?
By sheer accident,
Mm.
I actually had almost given up because I did get to the point because I went on like a gluten-free, sugar-free diet where I got the inflammation down. Because I would wake up, I'd have like claws. My hands would be like this. I would have to soak them in hot wax to
Mm.
get my muscles moving again. It was really bad. But going on like the special diet got the inflammation and stuff down, but I didn't have energy. I still had no energy, severe brain fog, which makes you depressed. And the doctor kept saying, well, it's a lupus thing. You're lucky you're even walking, you
Mm.
know, and that's just your life now. And it was
Mm.
really depressing because I was always like a creative person. I did martial arts, I did yoga, did all these things. And I couldn't do any of that, but I really missed having the creativity because I just had this brain fog. And by a fluke, I had a friend that was going to a health convention and it was like, she was going away for like 3 days. And she said, oh, you should come. It'll be so much fun. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to feel well enough. But I'm like, oh, it's a health convention. Maybe I'll learn something new, And
Yeah.
I went and I was really excited. And I got there and they had a vending area and they had all these different books and they had crystals and all the healing stuff. So it was really cool. But I started to get what's like a typical lupus flare where you could be feeling totally normal. And I
Mhm.
always think of like a Superman episode where Superman's all strong and somebody drops that kryptonite in front of him. It hits like that fast, like your body goes,
Mm.
and you just feel like you're going to collapse. And I had that, broke out into a sweat. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to faint. And I'm looking around this vending area and I'm like, there's no place to sit. But there was a guy in the back that had a massage table. And I remember thinking, I don't care what that guy's doing over there. I got to get over there. I need to lay down on that table. And I got over there very weakly, but I got there. And when I sat down, he handed me a microphone. And I remember thinking, I just want to lay down. And he goes, no, just say a couple of words into the microphone. I'm doing a voice frequency test on you. So I said, okay.
Mm.
And I talked.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he didn't explain, probably did explain it, but I was so out of it, I wasn't hearing it. He probably did tell me what was happening. And then I got on the table and he put a little headset on me. Now, up until that point, I really hadn't processed, my mom passing away and my dad and my brother-in-law, because I was
Mhm.
taking care of them consecutively. And as one, like when my dad passed, my mom moved right in with me with dementia. So there was no time. And I had all this built up in my head and I wasn't sleeping right. And as soon as this music started piping in, it was like for the first time, like my mind got quiet.
Mm.
And I was imagining almost like, when you blow bubbles as a kid, like I just felt like there were these bubbles coming out of my head and I was taking the negative thoughts out of it. Like this is very beautiful imagery. And I was seeing like colors and I was just getting this, it was amazing. And then the table started to vibrate. And
Mm.
I used to joke my shoulders were like this. I used to go to the chiropractor all the time. I used to go, there's a lot of weight on those little shoulders because he knew what I was going through. And they were like permanently here. And the vibration from the table just all of a sudden, like my shoulders came down. And really
Wow.
just within like a 20-minute treatment. And when I sat up after the treatment was over, I was like, oh my God, what just happened? What did you just do? Like my head is clear. I felt like this relief in my body like I hadn't felt in years. And
Mm.
it goes, well, when I took the frequency from your voice is the composite of all the frequencies in your body. So it showed me what frequencies your body was low in. I just played them back to you on the table. So what I was listening to were the exact frequencies my body needed. So frequencies are like nutrients, just like when you're low in B vitamins, you take a B vitamin, but this is fast. It goes like, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like this lightning bolt hit me. I'm like, I want to be a sound therapist. I had no idea what it was. Like and the funny thing is, like, then after this, like I learned about manifestation, and you always hear like Jonathan Goldman, who's like the father of like sound therapy. He says the secret formula to manifestation. He said vibration plus intention equals manifestation. So I was
Mm.
in that state of like vibrational bliss, and I went, I want to be a sound therapist, and literally like everything lined up in the universe. Like that day, like I got off the table, and I forgot this part. He gives you a sheet of paper, and on the sheet of paper was my notes, but all the things that vibrated in my notes. So it told me that if I wore the color red, that was the color that vibrated my frequency. If I looked at the color green, like I was supposed to wear one color and look at the other. To wear emerald gemstones, to get pine essential oil and peppermint. So at this convention, I was like, oh my God, this was like, is this a prescription to go shopping? because I was in a vending area, and
Mhm.
there was like having permission to go on a shopping spree. I was like, oh my God. And the first thing I saw was this giant Tibetan singing bowl, and I'd always wanted one. And now I'm thinking, well, it's kind of like the doctor ordered this, and it was in the note I needed. So I bought this giant bowl, and the guy didn't have a bag. And I remember thinking, he's all hold it behind the table. Like, no, I want to carry it, because all of a sudden I felt strong. And I'm carrying this bowl around like a little kid trick or treating. And then I found like a green scarf, right?
Mm.
So I found the green scarf. I found the emerald. I found something in red, something he told me to look at red and wear green. I got to reverse it first. Let's look at, yeah. So it's look at red, wear green. So the red thing to look at. And I'm putting everything in this bowl like I'm trick or treating. And I just remember thinking, this is what I really want to be doing. I want to tell people that they don't need a prescription for drugs. I want to give everybody a prescription to go shopping. What goal is one excuse to first like take a nap, because you get music to nap to, right? And then buy the colors that you should wear, new jewelry, and then even essential oils, which tells you what essential oils you should smell. So it's like a party for your senses. So to me, it's like the happiest, most fun thing that I get to do is that I tell people, wear these colors, smell this oil, because it's making your life happier. And when you're happy like that and good vibration, your health improves and everything.
Mhm.
And then you can even manifest more, because now when you're in this great vibration, you feel better.
Very true. And, everything color is vibration, from physics, it is vibration. And actually, each one of our energy centers has different colors associated with that, and they are different vibrations. So it makes sense. And I'm wondering, so that when he listened to your voice and figured out or diagnosed what you needed, what was the software, what was the technology he was using?
Okay, so it's actually a special voice frequency program,
Mm-hmm.
which I ended up buying that too.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
I'm like, this is what I love. And it does it for you. So he basically he just took a reading of my voice, and while I'm talking, it's making a graph. And
mm,
then it's showing like what frequencies, and then they translate that into notes. So it shows you what notes that you're missing. And then they'll give you a listing of the songs in those frequencies. So they show you like a lot of the classical music in your notes. And then he was showing me like how to tone. So I teach people how to do like toning and humming in their specific frequency, and then how to create a home practice from that. And what I like about it is that none of this is hard. And the other thing I like about sound therapy is that you don't have to have a big budget for it. You can go as low tech or as high tech as you want, because everything you need to be a sound therapist you're born with.
mm.
And I found that out after I spent like $30,000 on equipment. Because I was like so excited. I have this like, very high tech office. I got everything that vibrates on earth. I own it, which sounds weird, but and I have all these like frequency devices and light machines. And I went to school for the 3-year degree program to learn all about sound therapy, because at that point I only thought it was all this acoustic equipment. And I had this amazing teacher, Vicki Dodd, and she'd been doing this for 50 years. And she came out, and the first thing she said was, of all the tools in your sound healing tool chest, your voice is the most important.
Mm.
And I'm like, could you have not told me that $30,000 ago? But I
Well,
was,
it's an investment.
it is, because I look at it, my place is a spa, right? So people come in, it's like if you're having serious problems, you got to flip that mindset like right away. You just need a total relaxation, it's a getaway. But I want everyone to have a practice. So I love teaching them how to use their voice, the importance of humming,
Mm.
toning and movement, like moving and dancing. All these things help move the stuck energy, because all trauma, when we're going through certain traumas, it's
Mhm.
stuck energy, and we have to move it out. And when we move that out, it gets rid of that pain and that anxiety that tightens your whole body up. You'll still have the memory of something, but you're not going to have that physical pain and that where you just like freeze. It gets rid of that it moves it right out of your body.
I love that. We have a woman who's been doing sound healing at my church on certain evenings, and I haven't attended, but I've done other sound baths that have been lovely, really nice meditative experiences with crystal bowls and um, just very, very, takes you into another realm, really. Um, but sound comes in that we don't really have a filter for it. It's not like language where we're filtering out certain things, but sound goes directly in. to our subconscious. That's what I've heard. And I believe that, right? Which is why we can listen to something and it evokes emotions, even if we can't understand the words, even if it's in a foreign language, we can feel the emotions. So I'm wondering, when we're talking about this in business, what do you see that business owners can use, say, a session with you for, or coming to your group class? What are some of the ways that they can use what you have to offer, and what results does it give them for their businesses?
Well, the one thing that you want to have in your business, you want all your employees to get along.
Yes.
And so you want that harmony. And one thing is I would love to teach people. It sounds silly, but it's like the best thing that everybody can do together is hum.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it in a group, and you can make it like a joke because they're gonna like think it's silly, but when you're doing that, it's actually gonna help people connect. But humming creates nitric oxide, and nitric oxide lowers your blood pressure. It's opening up the whole cardiovascular system, so it instantly lowers your blood pressure. It's antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal just from humming. But it also creates this harmony among everybody. And when everybody realizes that, they're one and they're connected and it's not me against you, it changes everything. And the very hard thing is that we're brought up different. Well, like in school, we're all brought up that, you want to be the valedictorian or you want to be the quarterback. It's always about me
Mm-hmm.
celebrating me being number one. We're not taught that there's more joy in working with a group. And when you have success as a group, right, there's this community, this unity, like you're all together, like and you're cheering, you're for one another. And that takes the stress out because you're working together. So when I win, you win.
I love that. I say it in my mastermind, Susie. I say it as, when one of us rises, all of us rise.
Right. So
You know?
there's no jealousy, and then you
Mm-mm.
work better because you're all working for the same goal. So you want
Yes.
something to harmonize people, to get them focused on the same goal, knowing that they're all connected and knowing it's not me against you. And the other thing I love, this Marcy Shimoff, who wrote Happy for No Reason.
Mm-hmm.
She
I've
used to,
interviewed her, actually,
oh
Susie.
God, I love her. She
She's
always
been on the
goes,
show. We had a great interview.
she is amazing. I'm one of her certified happiness trainers. That's
Nice.
the thing with her. I love her. But she used to joke. She goes, I used to think, she's just what she used to say. I used to think I was the general manager of the universe. And this is what happens in the workplace. A lot of people think they need to tell you what to do all the time. Oh, and you're doing this wrong, and they want to get involved in everything. But as soon as you realize you're only responsible for you, and you're not looking at what this one's doing and that one's doing, you're going to be much happier. And this goes for motherhood too, being a parent,
Mm-hmm.
because I have friends that they want their kids to do certain things, and then they're not happy and they get mad at them. I'm like, but it's their life. You can't be mad at them for wanting to live their life, and like, but they should be doing it this way. I'm like, but it's their life. So that's one of the keys, is that you have to realize you are not, I'm going to quote Marcy again, you are not the general manager of the universe.
I love that. We take on way too much. We take on way too much responsibility. And I think as business owners, well, I know that the way I see this show up, Susie, is like people will try to do everything in their business instead of getting help, right? And one of the first things I teach is you've got to have a team. Now, you don't have to have full-time employees, but you've got to have a tax person. You've got to have your health and fitness person. You've got to have your self-care person, like to get facials and massages and acupuncture.
Yes.
You've got to have your mechanic. You've got to have your IT person. You've got to have your, there's just a whole variety of folks we need, and your tax person. You must have certain people in place and let them do what they're great at so that you can do what you're great at. Because otherwise, what we end up doing is micromanaging our own businesses. And there's no time for the thing that really we got into business to do. There's not enough time to do the thing we really love to do.
That is so true. And that's the advice actually I'd like to give business owners is, if you have a team, a lot of times you might have an employee that they're not really doing good at their job, but there might be something in the company that they can do so much better that they would love. So you really want to match them up to the right thing. And sometimes people get hired into the wrong spots, and then you find out they have a talent for something else. and you want them to be like actually, loving what they do.
Yeah. And in the arena, that's their zone of genius,
Right. Exactly.
But we just can't, if we try to put our hands into everything, we're just going to be overwhelmed and burned out, you know? And so many people try to do that. They say, I don't have money. I need to do this. I need to do this. I have blah, blah, blah. But there are ways to make it happen, even without traditional money, barter, for instance, right? But there are ways to have it happen without you having to do it all, And something I also see, Susie, is that it's very hard for solopreneurs, especially who have a team but not full time, but solopreneurs to actually take time off.
Yes.
I'm going on vacation and I'm not doing anything work related. I know I went to visit a family member last week and I said, okay, I will get up early and do a little bit of work and that's it. The rest of these couple of days here, nothing else, so we have to learn to set boundaries with ourselves, and we have to have practices such as sound healing, such as Reiki, such as yoga, such as walking outside, whatever it is, meditation, that help us to stay in a state of peace. And maybe not always joy, but a state of just a good high vibrational state, feeling good, feeling energy flowing.
Well, it's very difficult now that I find, because we're so attached with the cell phone. So when you go on vacation, everything follows you in your pocket, like it's there. So I like to tell people, one of the things that I want to do, I want to start doing digital detox retreats where people come over and there are no cell phones. And they can just detach, because we don't realize, even if the phone is on the desk and you have it face down and it's off, your mind is still wondering, oh, if I pick it up, who's on it? Mm-hmm. Or what's going to happen when I turn that? We're always connected to it. And it's made us more anxious than ever. And
I believe that. Yeah. And the the electromagnetic fields around us from all sorts of electronics can't be fabulous, So
no, it's so bad. It's so bad. It really is.
We need to make sure that we have time to decompress, or we'll never have a sustainable business. I love the digital detox thing. That's great. I mean, I know even when I was on the podcasters cruise, I got the Wi-Fi because I needed to check back in with some clients and I needed to do this and I needed to broadcast and so forth. But yeah, it does make us slaves to these at some level.
Does. I know a lot of people that have gone that cruise and they always come home sick. it's because there's so much activity. You're still connected to your phone. Nobody's relaxing. And it's when you're away, you should be able to shut everything off.
I think it might be the Marketer's Cruise you're thinking about.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
I keep getting invited, and I'm going to get sick. I don't want to go.
Yeah, the Podcasters one is different. It's smaller, and it's now called the New Media Cruise.
Oh,
but the Marketer's Cruise is about 400, 450.
That's the one, yeah. That's the one,
yeah. I haven't been on that one, but I have heard something similar, And I know that even one person passed on it. I found several years ago. Yeah. Well, I mean, they had been sick anyway, but so I think, this is important for us as business owners to think about, what do you have in place now, so that when you get into a tough spot and the proverbial is hitting the fan, right? What can you lean back into? Because if you wait until you're in trouble, what's going to happen?
Right. That's why I like to tell people to start now. One of the things is too that I want everyone to realize is that everything that is outside of you, like people always trying to control the circumstances. Mm-hmm. And don't think about that. You can't control everything around you, but you can control everything in you. So when you remember that, you have all the power on how you have to feel. So even with all the political stuff going on, people like freaking out and everyone hates each other. And but just, you can't control any of that. But you can control how you feel. And having a practice, and one of the easiest things to do, because it doesn't cost any money, like I said, and everyone thinks it's silly, but when you do it, you feel so great, is humming. Mm-hmm. And if you just do like 3 minutes of humming in the morning and before you go to bed, you're going to have lower blood pressure. You're not gonna get sick because it's, like I said, it's antiviral, antibacterial, and it sets you up for the day. That's all.
Beautiful.
And what I even like to do, so then like I like to like habit stack. So if I'm humming, like I like to do it outside, barefoot, because now you're grounding. You get the morning sun, right? So the morning sun comes in, hits your pineal gland, that stimulates all your hormones, all the feel good chemicals. And then simply by putting your hands on your chest, that creates oxytocin. So 5 minutes. So you literally standing outside, you're barefoot, you're connected, right? So you're grounding, you're getting the frequencies. Putting hands in the heart, creating oxytocin. Red sun. So when the sun is first rising, it's the most powerful because you're getting all the red light. That's why you see all these red light devices out there. Nothing is as powerful as the sun, right? So you just close your eyes, you let that come in, you do your humming, and while I'm humming, I add in my affirmations. So it's kind of like I got everything in there, and you can get done in like 5 minutes. And then like I like to add in, I do tuning forks, which you don't have to, but I feel like they're like training tools for humming, so you can hum along to your tuning forks. But it is so easy, and there was nothing hard about humming. And say you're late, you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to hum. You can hum when you're in the shower. You can hum while you're driving to work. You can do it anywhere. So there's like no excuse. So I like tell people it's like that simple. That's why I love it.
That's powerful. I remember reading in some positive psychology books about humming. There was research done on humming and levels of happiness. And I think that's super powerful. So, just simple humming. It doesn't even matter what you hum, right? And it is actually a part of one of the healing methodologies I use with my clients, actually, Susie. I use thought field therapy, and humming is a piece of that. It's one part of the treatment patterns that we use. So I love, it's in there. And I always say to people, it doesn't matter what you hum, just hum. You can hum Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Right. It doesn't matter.
So we hum Mary. So there's a practice, everybody, for you to think about is like when you're taking your shower, hum for 5 minutes. Or as Susie said, go outside, be barefoot, feel the grounding energy of the earth, let the sun come down and hit your pineal gland, which is also known as your third eye energy center. And put your hands here on your chest, which actually is the high heart in Reiki, and that will immediately release oxytocin. And just get yourself in a better state in the morning. Those 5 minutes are going to save you. For me, it's like 20 minutes of Reiki. Those 20 minutes just help me have high energy, no matter what, even if I haven't had enough sleep. Even if there's stress around, they help me have that high energy and flowing energy state. So what's your practice, you all? Those of you listening, I want you to ask yourself, what's my practice, my daily practice that gives me peace and that settles me in, that helps me be present to my life, instead of stuck in circumstances, right? Because the truth of the matter is the circumstances come and go, right? They come and go. And there will always be circumstances. That's part of life. Somebody's always, darn it, dying, and somebody's always being born. And so, something's always happening and shifting. It's part of life. But what do we have in a bank account, so to speak? Our self-care bank account, our peace bank account that we can draw upon. Well, Susie, I know this has been super interesting, and I know that you have something special to offer everyone. And in the Bold Badass Business Show, we have the freebie vault. Woo! I love the freebie vault because what we have is when you all go in, and I'm going to give you the address, right? When you go in there, you'll see the VIP Bold Badass Business sponsors at the top. Make sure you get every single one of their gifts. And then you can scroll down and find all the other episodes. And everyone has given a gift, and you can pick and choose what you want. So everybody grab your pen and paper right now and write this down. All right, here's the address you need: bit.ly/free from Dr. B, which is DRB. So bit.ly/free from Dr. B, DRB. Go on in there, enter your email, your name, and you'll be able to access all of these gifts. So Susie, what are you contributing to the freebie vault? Just let us know.
Okay, my favorite thing, which is what got me started in this whole thing, that if you want a voice frequency test so you can learn what your note is. And when you have your notes, I'm going to give you 2 songs in your note. They're going to be, it's classical music. So you're going to get 2 songs, and that'll get you started on your sound journey.
Beautiful. So they're going to be able to do a voice frequency test. Do they need to do that with you, or do they record it?
I can actually send them a link.
Mm-hmm.
I just need an email address.
Well, we're actually going to put that into the freebie vault. So it'll be at that address I gave everybody, but we'll put the link right in so they can just click when they're inside the vault and they'll be able to come over there. What a great offering. So it's the voice frequency test, and then you're going to get a couple of songs that you can play that are what you need.
Fabulous. In your note.
And what are with 2 notes, what are the results that they'll feel once they do this?
It's like, you know, that you have a favorite song and you don't know why, like it feels so good to you. It's usually because it's in your frequency. So you're going to find out the note that makes that your favorite song. And then you're going to see that, oh, wow. Like if you like then find out like what your favorite songs are, and then you match it up to the note that I gave you, like, oh, there was a lot of C in that song, or there's a lot of this in that song. And you're just going to see what resonates more with your body.
And does it
fills you in, like it gets that missing frequency you need.
Do your notes change over time, or do they stay the same?
You know, it's interesting because it's kind of like, I feel like it's like Ayurvedic medicine, where they tell you, like, I'm in Ayurvedic medicine, I'm pitta. I'm not going to say pitta or pitta, but I'm heat. So it's like, I'm always going to be that, but sometimes it's higher and lower. So I'm always just trying to balance it out with other things. But it does seem that you're always one thing. I don't really see people changing notes, but I see them becoming more balanced.
Gotcha. So the more they incorporate that note in, the more balanced they become.
But it always sounds like that. It takes a while. The note is always like, it's like their weak note. It's always going to seem to like dwindle down more. So when you're not balanced, it's always going to be the lower note. And we always fluctuate as beings. Like, we're always going to fluctuate. We're not supposed to walk around like, I'm perfectly tuned. Like, no one's and that's part of it. It's like, it's not about being perfect. It's like, it's about getting back to your happiness set point, like Marcy always talks about. So it's not that you're always going to stay happy, but how fast can you get back to being that? And that's what this helps you. It helps you adjust. It helps you self-regulate. So it's a form of self-regulation that brings you back quicker without having to go through the pain and the anxiety and days of maybe like, not being able to get out of bed. You just snap out of it like that.
Love that. And that's so very important, because we've got to have huge stamina as business owners. We've got to have huge stamina. And I have seen a lot in my 24 and a half years of business, I've seen a lot of people come start businesses and peter out, after a few years. And so it really is very essential that we have these self-care practices. We've got to have them. They're not optional. Sometimes people think it's optional and they'll leave the self-care to the end. But I hope you all are hearing today with Susie's message that you need to have that self-care. You need to have that peace practice every day, right? And then you're going to be so much more productive, so much happier, so much more balanced. And life is just going to be easier. How about we let go of struggle? How about we let go of the addiction to struggle? I love to talk about the addiction to struggle in our society, where we think it has to be hard. No, it doesn't. It does not have to be hard. It does not. It can be joyful. It can be flowing, but if we've decided, oh, this has to be hard. Oh, I'm in business. This should be hard. I should be working 70 hours a week, blah, 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 whatever you've decided. It's just a story you've told yourself. And how about having some tools such as the sound therapeutics, having some tools that can get you out of that story? Right. And how about having a badass business coach who'll get you out of that story? Because that's what we do all the time. We look at our shitty stories. Yes, I said the word. We look at our shitty stories and we identify them, and then we let them go. And sometimes we let them go over and over and over again. You know, sometimes we need to do it over and over and over again, just like you don't just listen to one song and suddenly you're tuned for the rest of your life. That's not the nature of life.
Right.
It's
It's like I
ongoing.
call it like a happiness workout. Like if you wouldn't go to the gym and go like that once, think, okay, my biceps are going to be great the rest of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, let's go on February 18th. That's our gym day. And then we'll be fine until 2026. No, no, no. So you all listen to what is being laid out, down today, because I really do think it is the secret to having a sustainable business. You are not going to keep doing be able to keep doing, pushing, doing all the things you do in business and trying to manage the world without having something that in your back pocket, like sound healing, like Reiki, et cetera, that is going to help you create peace and happiness. And so much, then people are attracted to you. Opportunities just come your way because you're in that state. So, Susie, what's one last thing that you would like to say to the listeners? What's one last thing you'd like to say to them to think about as we leave today's episode?
Okay. When you're harmonious inside, it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside world. And if you just really focus in, like I said, because I think that's the most important lesson I ever learned, is don't worry about controlling everything out here. Keep in here happy. And it should be great. It's like, don't wait for the outside stuff to make you happy. Know that you can
Mhm.
create on the inside. And the easiest thing is by being in that vibration, that frequency. And it all starts with something as simple as humming. So I just tell people you can hum and dance your way through all your crises. It may look silly, but you're going to feel a lot better, and that's all you need to, it's like we have more control than we realize. And we
And
just
we're
have to
changing our physiology that way, humming, dancing, it changes the physiology, which Tony Robbins is always talking about,
like they've done, like he talks about that Superman pose, like they did the studies on it,
Mhm.
and how just standing there like a couple of minutes, it changes your hormones, it changes like everything. And the same thing with like if you laugh or you hum for 6 hours, your immune system is up just
Love it.
by that little bit of like laughter or humming. So we have total control just by the frequency we're putting in. It changes everything, and you can raise your immune system, raise your joy just by the vibration. It's that simple.
Beautiful. Well, I think we can just end right there. What's your vibration, people? You may not feel exactly like a badass now, but you just hum a little bit. Just hum a little bit. Do your Wonder Woman pose or your Superman pose for a couple of minutes, with your hands on your hip and standing up straight, and let your physiology change your mind, right? Because sometimes, most of the time, we try to do it the opposite way and it doesn't. Sometimes we need to come from the body. We need to come from the vibrations. We need to come from humming. We need to come from Reiki, touching, doing work on our body. Um, so think about that, you all. What's your vibration right now? And maybe you're not feeling like a bold badass, but do a little humming and you certainly will. And Susie, thank you so much for being on. It's been a pleasure. Loved having you on. I loved when we met. And I think people are going to really enjoy this unusual perspective on sound, right? It's not just for listening to in your car, you all. This is therapeutic, and you can deploy it to help you have more and more success and a badass business. So I'll see you all next week on Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, make it a badass week.
Thank you.
Bye all.